Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tank12, however you call me, I don't really care. Welcome back to World of Tanks, where we are today reviewing the Char Futur 4. This is one of the Battle Pass tanks that you can unlock via the token system, and it is certainly one of the better ones in that reward tree, although all of the other tanks in there are also quite good, but this one I think is one of the best ones that there is. But before we go into that, let's first talk a little bit about the Battle Pass system and the token system real quick. You can get a total of 21 tokens and you can see all of the things that you can buy in the store. Now, if you want to get the 21 tokens, you will need to buy the premium pass for every single one of them, and you'll have to reach, I think, at least 100 and level 147, so you'll have to finish the battle pass every single time, and you have about 60 days for that, or it used to be 60 days, now it's less, until like May, something around like the end of May. So if you really want one of these tanks, you'll have to look into it and you'll have to play the game. You have to do the daily missions, that's where you can get the most points. But let's talk about what you have as an option. The Char Futur right here, it will cost you 9 tokens. You can also get the K91 PT, the Object 777, and the AE Phase 1 for 9 tokens. And you can get the Kunze for 12 tokens. Now, if you want to get either one of these tanks, because you can only get 21 tokens at the moment, you can grab 2 of these tanks, or you can go with one of the tanks that costs you 9 tokens, and the Kunze, which will end you up with 21 tokens if you have all of them unlocked, and you can get 2 tanks, which is also the Kunze. But the Kunze will be more cheaper, probably in the near future when the next season comes, because then we're going to get another tank. At least that's what I'm expecting. So obviously you'll have to make the choice, but today we're talking about the Char Futur 4. We're gonna make reviews on all of the tanks that I currently own of the reward system. That means the AE Phase 1, that means the K91 PT2, that means the Object 777 version 2, and maybe the Kunze or the Lorraine 50T, depending on which one I will get myself and how far I will get in this battle pass. Currently I'm level 32 and I haven't bought the premium pass yet, but I'll probably do that as soon as I have enough time and as soon as I put myself a goal which kind of tank I want to get. But let's talk about the Char Futur 4. Why is this tank so well liked? Now, when you guys were able to choose the tank I would review, I was hoping that nobody would pick the Char Futur 4. That was probably very naive of me, because I didn't play it that far. I've only played it once or twice prior to that, but I've invested quite a few games into the Char Futur 4. I'm a huge fan of the French medium tanks, so I thought that this was going to be a breeze. It turned out it wasn't a breeze at first, but I still managed to get 44 games into it. Mastery badge. First class, not ace tanker yet, but we're still working on that. And I thought that with almost having all of the field modifications unlocked, I think I can talk about the tank and what a tank it is. Now, today I don't want to make it too long, so I'll have to condense this a little bit down, and hopefully the gameplay will speak for the tank and for what you can expect with the Char Futur 4. So, the main reason why people like to pick French medium tanks is because of their mobility. They are very dangerous guns that have usually very good pen and a nice autoloader. That autoloader usually allowed them to deal a lot of damage in a very short time, and that was something very unique when the French tanks first came into the game over 10 years ago. Nowadays there are a lot of autoloaders and auto reloaders, so that means that they are no longer as unique as they once were, and definitely their stance with the lack of armor that they have makes them a bit antique. Look at the AMX 5120, it's a huge tank. It has this 4-round autoloader for the 120mm gun. Used to be a really cool tank that nothing was like it. Nowadays you have the Czechoslovakian heavy tanks that have better alpha damage. They have 2 shells, and basically they do the same kind of damage that this thing would do without getting hit as often as the AMX 5120 would. So the Char Futur, on the other hand, is one of those tanks that came into the game that kind of had the same, the same strengths as other vehicles have, but at the same time, it has some very, very clear changes. So let's get right into the review. You have a 105mm gun on this vehicle. As you can see, it's a tier 10 gun. It's the 105mm D1504 4-1, and you have 390 alpha damage. That's really nice, but that's kind of what you expect of a 105mm gun. 264mm of penetration with APCR. That's really, really nice, but it does kind of it's a bit weird. Sometimes you have the feeling you have less pen. Obviously, that's because of the 25% on RNG that you have with the pen and being able to pen or not able to pen. And definitely, it's a bit weird sometimes. The shells do like to lodge themselves into the tracks and do no damage. That's what I've noticed when playing this tank. So that's very important to know. You have 264mm of penetration. The shell velocity is great on the APCR shells, 1,461 meters per second. Basically, no lead time required at all. And your rate of fire is 4.93. That's obviously with a good crew. That's with some premium consumables as well, and with equipment, but we'll talk about the equipment later down the road. And the reload time, as you can see, is 36.72 seconds for 4 shells in a clip. And that is definitely nice. 4 shells, that is about like the damage of 1,600 with a single clip if you manage to hit every single shot, pen every single shot, and if RNG is working with you, could be more, could be less sometimes. But one of the first things that we'll have to talk about is the intra-clip reload. You'll have 12 seconds until you can fire all of the shots. That's 12 seconds where you have to wait. The first shot obviously is already loaded in, so you don't have to reload. But the second shot will take you 4 seconds, the third shot will take you 4 seconds, and then the fourth shot will also take you 4 seconds. For an autoloader, 4 seconds intra-clip reload is really, really, really bad. It takes forever, you feel like you're waiting there, it makes you very vulnerable. That's one of the major downsides that you have when you're playing this tank. If you compare it to other vehicles, such as the Skoda T50 for example, you can see the intra-clip reload is 1.8 seconds. So very quick. This thing can unload like and it can just drive away. And with the Char Futur, you're like shooting once, waiting a couple seconds, shooting twice, waiting a couple seconds, shooting 3 times. And most of the times you'll probably not be able to get more than 2 or 3 shots into the target before you have to run away, because you do not want to get hit while you're doing that, right? That's the whole point of being an autoloader. You want to unload as many shots as you can without taking any damage. That's how you can do more damage. Then you have to reload for 36, 38 seconds. That's going to be quite a long time where you're not going to be combat effective. You cannot really do a lot except for spotting for your team. Now, the gun traverse speed could be better. Generally speaking, it's actually a bit lacking. It's 32 degrees per second, which is okay, I guess, for a lot of other tanks, but for a medium tank, it's not very nice. So definitely we can talk about having maybe, instead of the turbocharger, you could maybe run the improved rotation mechanism, which will give you better rotation speeds and which would increase your turret traverse, your gun traverse, and your track traverse. But I think that the track traverse is actually not too bad. Now, let's talk about the gun depression. I think they buffed most of the French tanks' gun depression, so 7.5 degrees is okay. It's not the best. I would have liked to see a bit more, but still, 7.5 degrees, it's not as bad as some Russian tanks. You can make do with this, you can work with it on certain ridge lines, but it's still kind of lacking. So you'll have to keep it in mind. 7.5 degrees of gun depression, very weird number as well. That's something you have to keep in mind. 11 degrees of gun elevation is horrible. That's one of the worst things about this tank. You have no gun elevation, so if you're on a slope, you cannot aim upwards, and that's going to make it very awkward when there's a lot of hilly terrain where you cannot really fight back if someone is in a higher position than you are, because you cannot elevate your gun. So keep that in mind when playing this tank. It's something that does happen occasionally, not every single time, but that's what you have to keep in mind. It doesn't have very good gun elevation. keep that in mind. Also, you have 3 crew members. I forgot to tell that. 3 crew members. That's quite nice, but also means that the commander also needs to be the radio operator at the same time. So you might need to get the radio skills and the improved like situational awareness. I know that the Bad Chat has 4 crew members, but here you only have 3. So moving on, aim time is really good. Dispersion is really good as well. It's 0.33, so this is a very accurate tank. The DPM is okay. You can buff that actually with some other things, but we're going to talk about that in a later time and when we're talking about the field modifications. Now finally we get to the point where a lot of people are really excited about the fact that it is a part of this tank, and that is the HP and the hull armor. French tanks are synonymous for no armor. Usually the medium tanks have no armor. Everyone can AT them. Artillery loves to shoot them, and this tank is a bit different. Hull armor still is very lacking. 55 millimeters, 40 on the side, 30 at the rear. But turret armor wise, you have 140 millimeters at the front, 90 on the side, and 30 at the rear. Now it sounds a lot better than it actually is, but you might bounce some shots, and that's already like a huge step up from all the other French medium tanks that you might have played. If you've played the Bad Chat, you know that anything will go through, tier 1s will go through, but with this thing, all of a sudden, you can peek sometimes, and you're going to be able to still inflict damage, and might get a lucky bounce. I have to be honest, I expected to be bouncing more on the turret, but it turns out, at tier 9, 140 millimeters of turret armor, with the angling that you have right here, it's not going to stop them penetrating your turret most of the time. It does work sometimes, but what I've noticed is people destroy your guns a lot of times. Basically, every single time they shoot your tank and they shoot your gun, it knocks the gun out, so I have to use the repair kit quite often. 1,750 hit points for a medium tank of the French nation, that's great. But the armor really, it's a nice addition to basically any other French tank, and I think a lot of players will be very happy with the fact that you have at least some protection. Moving on to mobility, this is where this tank really shines. I do have equipment for mobility, the turbocharger class 1, because I thought, for me personally, yes, definitely the hull traverse or improved rotation mechanism would have helped out with the turret, but still the traverse speed of the hull is really good. Look at that, 46.81. That's with all of the skills, but it's still like somewhere in the areas of 38, 39, and that's really good for a French tank. If we do pull up the Bad Chat 25T real fast in the stats, you can see just how bad it is in comparison. Traverse speed is for 51.52, but no, I remember it was really, really bad. Maybe it's just when you're moving around. But I remember that the Bad Chat was really bad. Did they buff that? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just talking garbage right now. But the tank weighs basically nothing. You have 702 engine power, or 6. No, it was maybe it's 650. Should be 650 or something like that. Specific power to weight ratio is really good as well, 25.71 on this current configuration. 65 kilometers per hour top speed. Now you have 60 kilometers per hour top speed if you do not have the turbocharger class 1. So this tank is really fast. It gets you from point A to B very, very quickly and reliably. That's definitely why people love French tanks, because they are very mobile. Now, talking about concealment, the base stats of the concealment on this vehicle actually are decent, but it's still a bit lacking, so I would certainly suggest you to push that fact. You want to have more concealment because this tank can also opt as a very good secondary scout. As a lot of other French medium tanks, they are able to spot very, very nicely if you have the right equipment for it. The view range, it's not the best out of the box. 380 meters is about the average at tier 9 for a medium tank, maybe even below average sometimes. But still, I think with the right equipment, with the right training, you can get that up. And you can see currently I'm sitting at 488 meters base view range, which gives me the edge in basically any engagement where I want to be able to spot for myself. Even though you have this very, very nice and handy 105mm auto-loading cannon. So basically, there are 2 big downsides. Very long intra-clip reload, and you have basically no gun elevation. That's something that's very awkward, but I think you can live with that. Other than that, the tank is very, very nice. It's a fun tank. It's really fast. It has some survivability. It has some armor, which other French medium tanks don't have. At the same time, don't rely on the armor, but it's still as squishy if you think about it, because it's only 55 millimeters at the front and 140 at the turret. That's very easy penetratable at tier 9, but it gives you a little bit of a sense of more security. And like more survivability allows you to be more aggressive in certain stages. Now, concealment-wise, spotting-wise, it's probably not top of the class, but it can get very close if you have the right equipment, and it can be quite nice. So let's take a look at some other specialties about this tank. First and foremost, every single reward tank gets the standard large repair kit that you do not have to spend credits on. This is free. And you can see it gives you plus 15% to module repair speed. So your tank repairs a lot faster. You can see that right here in the survivability tab, 7.34 seconds to repair your suspension. That's very nice. That's a nice added bonus to have when you're playing this tank. Let's talk about the equipment. This is where the fun begins. So I want to keep this short and simple. I have tried several things, and I've thought about several things. How do I play this tank? Well, I play this tank as a very aggressive kind of medium where I can be a supportive element, and sometimes I do kind of overextend myself a little bit too much. But then you can also be a sniping vehicle. So if you prefer to be more at the back of the battle and you want to be on the second line where you can support your team with your very accurate gun, you certainly can go with several different options. Like the aim time is really good. You don't need an enhanced gun laying drive. You can get the improved ventilation, which would give you better DPM. That will increase your reload or decrease your reload time. You can sit at the back. You can get the improved rotation mechanism to turn your turret quicker when you're in a bush somewhere. And then obviously at the end you can also go for the scouting field modification and the upgrade, so that you can add the coated optics to spot for yourself and for your team, or also get the low noise exhaust system to stay more hidden. That is something that I would highly recommend to keep in mind. And then also I have the vertical stabilizer, because you don't need improved aiming. The accuracy is really good, and I've enjoyed the tank in this configuration very, very much. And with the vertical stabilizer, it will allow you to still turn your turret, still be accurate as you can be, and then ping those shots, even though it'll take you 4 seconds in between the shots to be able to deal some damage. Now, obviously, if you want to be really competitive, you can go for bond equipment, but I'm too poor for that, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Bond equipment is certainly going to be a very nice step up with a venting system, with improved vents. But I'm broken. You can see I have no money, I have no bonds, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I've been thinking about adding vents into the secondary slots instead of the coated optics class 1, because it gives me better, basically better stats all around. But still, at the same time, I like to play as an aggressive scout that's a bit bigger, and it works out quite nicely. The only thing I've seen lacking is the concealment. I've been outspotted by light tanks. Sometimes I've been outspotted by medium tanks, because I do break the camo occasionally if I want to shoot someone. So what I also could do is I could take away the coated optics class 1, take that out, because the base view range would still be very good. It would be like something along the lines of 460 meters, 450, 60, and I could take the low noise exhaust, which would give me better abilities to stay concealed. Now, to be fair, I've never used the commander's vision system, or I've used it a couple of times. I'm not really sure if it's that good, but maybe you could try it out as well. But that's just like my preference if I play this tank as a hybrid light tank / medium. If you really only want to do damage, you can definitely forgo that. You can take out this one, the coated optics class 1. What you can do is you can basically go for additional survivability. You can add improved hardening onto that. You can get, I'm not even sure if you want to get modified configuration, but you could also get the medium spall liner maybe if you have to go, because artillery likes to shoot you, so it's a very awkward situation. But definitely improved ventilations is something you can add there as well. I haven't done that yet. I've tried improved ventilations once or twice. I've run that before the Coated Optics Class 1. It's been running quite nicely, but still, in the end, I think that this is a very nice combination for me. Now, the turbocharger is just something for me. I want to be fast. I want to be as fast as possible, so that's why it's important for me. But obviously, you can also go with improved rotation mechanism, and you can also just put the improved ventilations in the first slot as well. That also works, and run this setup. But as always, tell me what you think about the setup. You can put the comments in the section below. I'll still read. I read everything. And I think now we have talked a lot and enough about the tank. Hopefully we can go into the gameplay and show off how incredible good this tank really is. So yeah, it was a bit difficult to get like the right gameplay for this tank, because I also wanted to kind of show off the armor, but it was a bit difficult to do that because in the majority of the games I nearly didn't bounce enough shells, or I wasn't spotted for them to actually shoot me. So in this gameplay, I at least want to show off what the fighting capabilities are, and that the armor, although nice on paper, in comparison to other French light tanks and medium tanks, certainly does not really hold up in an engagement where other tanks come into play that shoot you. So what you can see is we're playing on the map Tundra, and we have very, very nice mobility on this vehicle. If you want to get into a position early on, that's what you can do, but you certainly have to be careful, because your HP is once more like kind of your armor on this vehicle. But right there, we get hit by the Leopard Prototype A while trying to take the hill, and we lose 427 HP, and that's quite a lot. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the armor on paper looks quite neat, but it certainly doesn't really hold up as nicely in combat. You can see that KV5 with I think 180 something millimeters of penetration was just able to go right through our turret. Unfortunately, I cannot really show you the impact where he hit us, but in the end, still we managed to get an entire clip into the enemy and do damage with every single shot. And that's what you can see. That's a very nice feat, a very nice thing to have. That's the power of autoloaders, doing 1,603 damage. That's very, very nice in a single clip. That's what you can do. That's basically almost a full Ferdinand. That's a full Ferdinand right there. First shot we fluff, he misses us. The second shot we do track him, and you can see the massive time it takes to reload, the 4 seconds. Now the 4 seconds don't seem to be that bad, but they are really, really horrible if someone is sitting in front of you. Because when they're sitting in front of you and they start shooting you, you'll notice those 4 seconds in between the shells that you have to reload. Because if it's another autoloader or maybe an auto reloader, they'll probably already have 1 or 2 shots inside of you while you're just still reloading the second round. And then, you know, if they have another round, you're still kind of in an awkward situation where you're trying to reload to be able to fire the third round, but it just doesn't really work out. So right here you can see we're kind of losing the other side of the map. We have way too many people over here. I completely forgot that the heavies were also over here. But you can see the accuracy of this tank is really, really nice. Being able to do that 360 420 damage on the Steyr Waffenträger and also the Chiri is just something very nice. And every single shot hit, we do damage, we get the Steyr Waffenträger taken out of the game. And now I notice that I have to take, I have to take action. I need to go back to base. At least that's what I should have been doing. I decided to stay up on the hill because I still have a very long reload of 38 seconds at this time. And I want to be able to support this Kidovets when he is trying to go for the defense in our cap. But as you can see, it's a bit awkward right now. We're just waiting here. We're waiting for something to light up and to be able to do some damage. Right here, that's something that you'll notice happen often. And that is that somehow your shots go straight for the tracks. They track, they do no damage, and it's very frustrating, especially with the very long intra-clip reload. And right here, it happens again. probably badly aimed by myself on my part, but finally the third one goes in, hits the IS, you know, does some damage. I track him, and we're at 4,000 damage. And you can see that if the enemy team gives you the leeway, they give you the time, you're able to do a lot of work with this vehicle. And right there we do 4,054 damage without really being contested too much. And that shows you like the accuracy on this tank, you know, the ability to deal damage is very prevalent, and it's a very good vehicle for that. But it lacks the gun depression, it lacks gun elevation. The armor works, but it doesn't work well enough to allow you to survive, you know, some serious firefights. So you have to be very, very careful of that when people, you know, start pushing you. And now we're in a very awkward position. I'm trying to save the base, and I've noticed that, oh, right now our last remaining stronghold is on the hill. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to clear off like the T-54E1 on the side. And because of the mobility that you have, because of the great gun handling that you have on this tank, you can just do that. Look at this beautiful 2 shots. One of them 398, the other one 351. That is quite a big low roll. But still, that T-54E1 is not going to feel as well going up against us. Now let's talk about the ammo loadout as well on this tank. It's a bit limited. You have 32 shells in your tank, 24 APCR shells that I have loaded, and 8 heat shells. I think that is a very good combination. Generally speaking, I only have had to use the heat shells once. I really enjoy the French APCR shells. Right there, once more, very awkward situation. I don't know where the shot went, but you can see that even in a hull down position where I'm only showing my turret, he is very, very much able to go right through like the turret very easily. And one of the things that happens often is you'll get your gunner knocked out, and you also get your gun knocked out. So you have to be careful, because you can see he hit once there, he hit once there. We were hit there by the KB5. So the armor on this vehicle, even though it does show up on the armor viewer, it's not really that great. So I'm reloading right now, but basically my game is about to be finished in a second. SU-130 PM finishes me off with 1 final HP. And unfortunately, we're going to lose this match because our team tries to cap, but the enemy team caps first. And they still have an AMX-30 who is trying to take the hill. But that doesn't stop us from trying to, you know, get our team hyped up. Maybe they can still do it, but in the end, unfortunately, it's just not the case. But still, a very interesting game. At least damage-wise, we were able to do a lot of damage, almost 6,000. And that's something you can do in this tank when you are, you know, a bit more, when you're looking a bit more into the way how you're playing a tank, and you know, when you're very aware on certain alleyways and places where you need to go. I kind of misplayed. I should have taken the base back sooner, and I didn't really do that at first. But still, damage-wise, you know, it's really great. Has so much potential to do a lot of damage. So I'd say we watch one more gameplay where we can also take a look at the spotting capabilities and the capabilities of this tank as being a bit of a hybrid of a light tank and a medium tank. And then we're going to have the final verdict on the Char Futur 4. So what happens when you are one of those tanks that has 480 meter space view range with all of the equipment, or 480 meters view range, and the base is 380. But because of the equipment, you're able to make this into a very little scout, because the size of the tank it's not very large. It's more of a small medium than anything else, and I really like to play it as like a little light tank. But what you can see right here is we're playing on the map Glacier, which is in Sweden somehow, and you can see that the reload time for 38 seconds. makes it a bit awkward sometimes. Right there, like that was really frustrating, not being able to hit the TNH T, but being able to hit that Centurion and the T26 E4, that's just beautiful. Just look at that, every single shot doing damage. That's what you want to see when you're playing a French autoloader, and that's what you're capable of when you're playing this tank. Having this at tier 9, you know, is a very nice feature. You also have this in the tech tree with the Batchet 25 T AP, which is the tier 9 variant, but it just doesn't really have the protection. It still has the mobility. It has a different kind of gun. I think it's not standard APCR, but I haven't played that tank in a very long time, so I cannot really tell you all the same or all the differences outright. But right here you can see we're being a bit too aggressive. We also get punished for it by the charioteer. But finally a bounce. And that one does happen on the turret, I think. Or it might be the upper plate. I'm not really sure. I don't really see the mark of where the round hit, but it was a bounce. That's something that does happen on ridgelines, because of the armor. It's a bit angled at the front. It's not very thick, but it's a bit angled, and you can see that sometimes when you're on a ridgeline, tanks will bounce off that. So I'm just falling back right here because I'm not able to penetrate the TNH if he's in a hull down position like that. And now we have a little bit of a waiting game. We're just waiting for our team to be able to do some damage here. I'm trying to see if I can do some more damage on the EBR-90, even though there's a tank destroyer at the back. And we hit the EBR-90, but once more we do no damage because it's one of those horrible wheeled tanks that just have magic armor, and you can't really do any damage to them. So I'm just not really sure. Should I fire right there? But yeah, I leave that. I still have 2 rounds in the chamber, or I still have 2 rounds in the clip. So I'm just waiting for a moment to at least put one more into them. And you can see the EBR-90 now makes a move to go up the hill, and we are able to at least punish him once, but not a second time. And our light tank right there, what is it? It's the G-Sor. Just kind of is completely surprised by someone just moving up there, even though we spotted him. And right there, the Kampfpanzer 07 RH is also making a move on the hill. Now, in a situation like this, where you kind of have the upper hand, this is like really nice. You can choose when to reload. You're not getting put under pressure. You can basically decide when to engage, and this is where the tank really feels the best. And also now, with the very good view range that you have on this tank, we're just able to drive forward and spot anything that's right over there sitting at the base. And this is where we are able to get more assistance damage in there, and also having at the same time this incredible firepower of this tank just is really nice. 400 damage right there in that Bourrasque, making the Bourrasque completely useless. And there I thought about taking on the charioteer, but I thought, you know what, I want to do some more damage. I don't really care about the kill right there. I know it's a bit of a a cheap thing to do, but still, the Löwe must have been a bot, because that player didn't really shoot. He aimed over, like he's aiming at me right now. He's not shooting though, so he's basically just a HP pinata to be farmed by my team. But you can see, driving forward, having the mobility, having the view range, also prior, you're able to spot anything and everything in your way, and just to be able to get more assistance damage. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to get. So also right here, having a heavy tank, its rear facing you, that's so nice. But unfortunately, because of the long interclip reload, we're not able to kill him. It was very close, but we were not able to do it. If you only had like 3 seconds, I think that would be a lot more entertaining. But that's not the case. You have 4 seconds interclip reload, and you'll have to live with that. But still, 4,843 damage, 2,000 damage assisted by spotting. I also have a gameplay where I was spotting on the what was it called? Prokhorovka, where we were playing the hill. Yeah, but that gameplay, probably we're not going to be picking that one right now. This tank is really a lot of fun. So let's have a little final verdict on the Char Futur 4. Okay, for who is this tank really suited? Who should get the Char Futur 4? I would say, if you want to have fun in this game, basically everyone. It costs you 9 tokens. That is the lowest price. if you compare it to the other tanks available in there. You can also get the K91 PT or the Object 77 version 2. You can obviously still wait for the other reviews coming out with the Object 777 version 2 and the K91 PT, but probably next week we'll first do the AE Phase 1 before we do the other ones. But yeah, I think this is an awesome tank. If you like medium tanks, if you like autoloaders, this is one of the vehicles that you should definitely get. If you have the ability to get like the 9 tokens and you don't want to go into it and, you know, spend any money on the battle pass, just, you know, complete the free ones and get this tank, because it's a really good tank. You'll not be disappointed. It's a lot of fun. It has very good features, very good characteristics, and it's able to fight very nice battles even at tier 10. Certainly one of the best reward tanks that we have, or token tanks that we have in the game, and I think this is probably the best French medium tank at tier 9. I think it's better than the Batch at 25 AP, because it fires, like, it has more pen, it fires APCR standard rounds, it has better DPM. The time for loading in between the shots obviously is better on the Bad Chat, and you also have 6 shells instead of 4. But the dispersion is much better, the aim time is better, basically everything is better, you have better armor, and yeah, like, definitely it's not the same as the Batch at 25T, that's a different story. They also play a bit differently, but like mobility wise, this is a really good tank, and it feels like a French medium tank with a little bit of armor to give you a bit of extra protection and a bit more survivability. That's why I think this is one of the great tanks that you can get. Certainly for medium tank players, this is one of them that they really like. And I can almost say that I don't even know what kind of players wouldn't like to have this kind of tank, but I think the majority will probably be very happy with this vehicle. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this review. I know it's been a bit of a longer one, but I want to be thorough with these ones, and I'm gonna have the timestamps down below. And next time we're going to do the AE Phase 1. Hopefully, I'm going to try to do less of an introduction at first, and you know, focus more on the gameplay side of things. Hope you guys did enjoy. As always, I see you guys on the next one. Until then, have a good one.